All right, we're back. We are COMP1004, Rapid Application Development in the Winter 2017 semester at Georgian. We are week 8, part 2 of our broadcast. I've just unplugged, so please forgive me if I'm really cutting out or something like that from a broadcast perspective and recording. But I've done that because I want to be able to try and, connect, I accept, with Visual Studio to the base I created. Now, I'm running a little bit of an update because I'm thinking maybe that might have caused my issue. I'm not going to wait for this to happen, and I'm going to talk about assignment number 4 while that update's happening. So kind of make the most of our time. I'm talking about assignment 4, but is it due anytime soon? Hell no. Right? But I'm talking about it because it can be considered kind of the most difficult one of the bunch. And it's worth the same. And I made them all worth the same. So that way there's no, this is week 12, April 2nd. So it sounds like a long way away. And kind of is, almost a month. By midnight. Its marking is, there's 77 points. You can see the difficulty right there. If you use the amount of marks as a kind of a, the other ones were like in the 50s and 40s. This is one's in the 70s. It means there's a lot of little things to look at. Chances are it's something like an 8, 9, or 10 in terms of difficulty because of the amount of time you need to put this together. Someone asked me for how long it takes. Probably going to take you more than 4 hours. Sure it works. That's a bigger assignment, but it's worth the same, right? So if you did pretty good on assignment 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, remember these ones are all the same marks, then hopefully it'll equal out a little bit. This is difficult because there's a couple parts to this. One part is, another part is database. A third part is user interface, right? Fourth part is some kind of object-oriented design and methodology that we're going to talk about. So there's a lot of little piece parts that makes this assignment a little bit more challenging. So you're going to make a multi-form application. That's what it's going to be. User an option to start a new order or load a saved order. How does it look? Let's give you some screenshots here of kind of some old screenshots I use. So you come to this screen here, gives you kind of a little splash screen. It's not a bonus, right? You're going to come into this like little menu that says start a new order or open a saved order and the exit button, right? Now I called it dollar for dollar computers. I encourage you to make your own logo for this one, right? Make your own style. You have something called the select form, and the select form is going to be a list of all the computer parts. Now, the computer parts I've given you, and if you actually look up online on Blackboard, I gave you a database that you can import into your own database, so you don't have to create all this stuff yourself. All this, the table itself is there, database into your SQL server, and it should be okay. And if you actually look up, we'll talk about how to import stuff later on. It won't be today, right? Then we can import this table, and then you have access to all this information. Once you select your computer, say you select this one here, whatever that selection is, it's going to show it down here in this little text box, and then you click next. It takes you to the next screen. You can see that there is all the details. This is the detail form. It's going to show all the details of the computer that you selected. From here, you can go File, Save, and save your selection, right? All the details in a text file of some sort. From there, you can click next if you want, or you can cancel and close it and then load it up later on. Notice that if I wanted to just save it from there, I wasn't sure yet, save the order, you can do that, right? You can open up a save order because you're going to save the details of your order somewhere on your machine. We're going to talk about how to do that. And then the order form itself is going to show you the final order, right? Whatever you've decided. Now we've done ordering to death. This part's not going to be the difficult part. The difficult part is going to be how do I pass data again from one form to the other, which has been a pain in everyone's, right? Since the beginning. You need to learn how to do this. If you don't know how to do this, is a key concept in this course, right? If you try and store your data in the forms, that is not correct. You need to store them in some kind of container class. Let's call it order, your computer order or computer order or whatever you want to call it. But you need to store this information somewhere and then retrieve it in the form, right? And save to it. Okay, cool. So then you click finish. Thank you very much. and then you're done, right? That's what we're looking for. As follows, you've got 27 marks, if you will, for UI, so less, more functionality, 38, program structure 3, internal documentation 5 still is important, and version control 4, for a total of 77, weighing 15% of your final grade, right? So again, these are worth all the same. This is number 4. Assignment perspective, you're going to come into around 60% plus your exam, which is worth 20. That's 80% of your final grade up into and including this assignment number 4. Some idea of where everything is. So if you did really bad in assignment 1, if you felt in your mind, or if I give you a really bad mark in assignment 1 for some reason, or you didn't do right, assignment 2 so good, or assignment 3, maybe your exam wasn't that great, and you're kind of like, you know, petering out, and you feel that you're not doing that great, that might be a red flag for you today. Remember, today might be the last day to withdraw without academic penalty, even without me giving you marks. I'll tell you right now that if you feel you didn't do great on assignment 2, 3, and your midterm exam, that's a very good indication probably that I'm not going to give you good marks, right? Because if you feel you didn't do well, or if you missed something, you couldn't do something on one of your assignments or 2 of your assignments, and if you were to actually use my rubric itself, like to go through and go, did I get a mark here? Maybe, maybe not. If you just thought about it for a second, you could figure out that maybe it's a good time to think about your worry. For the most part, though, so if you handed in whatever you handed in, you got to trust me that I'm not going to kill you at this point. I mean, that's all I can tell you. I'm not someone that's going to sit there and try and crucify you. Remember, for me, it's not just about the marks. That's why I gave you an opportunity to do a midterm assignment and not kill you with a proctor today because we're off on a Monday. I did that because I want you to take away from this. It's kind of an intro course, right? So I'm not going to kill you with this stuff, and that's why I'm giving you your assignment way ahead of time, right? So if you trust me, things are going to be okay. I'm not going to crucify you. I don't do that kind of thing. Don't hand in your stuff if you've based on what you've given me. So if you've missed, if I have, I'm just going to give you a very simple solution to this. If I've asked you for 5 things and you only gave me 4 of the 5 things, 4 of the 5 of the marks, right? That's really simple. Even if you give me bonuses I look at after. First, I look at your basics, and then, so to speak, and then I look at bonuses, right? So they may not. And I don't want you to think that bonuses are going to be equal to what your core requirements are going to be. Usually they're never equal, usually. So that's the assignment. What I want you to do, the details of the assignment are here inside the document. And if you notice, each of the forms, as normal, are very detailed. Some people complain because this is too much information. They're like, Tom, your books. Not really. If you look at them, if you look at start form, right, what am I asking for? Create a splash screen for the project that includes the company logo for $1 computers. That's your own company logo. If you really wanted to use mine, like capture for my assignment, right? But why? I mean, it doesn't take long. It doesn't take a little bit too much effort for you to put together your own logo. You probably already have it from like some kind of logo you can use for this one. Add a button control that gives the user an option to start a new order. A button control that that allows the user to load a saved order, right? I mean, it's very straightforward. Also, I've talked about creating a default icon for the project. We haven't talked about that yet. Notice when we have our projects on the bottom. Oh, this is still going. We have our projects on the bottom. We have a little default icon that comes up in Visual Studio. I want you to replace it with your own size for this one. Set the control box properties of the form to false, which means I'm not going to see minimize and maximize button. You won't see that. It's going to be hidden because the first form, if you notice, right, this is the selection form. This is the start form. The start form is just this one, right? So there is no minimum, maximize, minimum, minimize, maximize, and exit. There's no buttons like that. You can only exit from here, maximize this little form, and you probably won't be able to see that in any of the other ones. This is not there either, except for maybe the last one. And I probably told you to take it away from there as well because I want you to use the buttons for all that work, right? So no control box in this assignment, it looks like, okay? Select form. Once you've decided on what you want to do, the select form will pull up a little grid, a data grid view, which we're going to learn about over the course of the next couple weeks, right? alone will allow you to pull in data from a data source. Okay, that's what we're going to be using, a data grid view, right? After the data grid view, when you select it, the challenge is going to be, how do I select that entire row? I'm telling you, hint, hint, guys, you're going to ask me these questions. I'm going to go over this again next week because you're going to come up and say, so Tom, how do I select the whole row? I know because it comes up every single time. It says, add a label on a text box, and here we go. Write an event handler that entire row of the data grid view control when any of a single row cells are clicked. Any cell that's clicked in the row, it's going to highlight the whole row. Code, you got it right. How to figure that out? It's not that difficult. But we got to talk about that. Write a method that selects all the data from the highlight row of the data grid view control, manufacturer field, model field, and cost field in that text box in the bottom of your form, right? What does this mean? And down here, Toshiba, and then some other things here are listed. That comes right from this row. So somehow you got to link the data, take kind of get an excerpt from the data and put it populated down here in that field to let the user know what they've selected. It's got to match, which is one of the big issues. Like I'll tell you, some people have issues with this. All right. Again, it's not difficult. It's just you need to know how to do all this stuff. There's little piece parts. Control box, cancel and next buttons do different things. Go to the next form and so on. Product info form. It loads, either you can get it from the something you've saved, or it transfers information from the select form through the product info form. And I recommend, like I said, I didn't tell you how to do it. I didn't say you must use a class. I'm not going to tell you must use anything here. This is your programming. And it says a menu strip. The menu strip itself will have a file and like a save and a load if you want to. And we're going to talk about how to use the open file dialog and save file dialog to save or load from a file. So again, remember I talked about these 3 or 4 different things. Database access. Binding your data, the view that you see with data that comes from a database, where you save stuff to the file, load stuff from the file. All that stuff is in this application, which makes it a little bit more robust. This originally was the final application that I got you to build. One to kind of make everything a little bit equal. It's almost like buttering my toast a little bit. I have to say, I don't know how there's a better way to say that, right? If I don't butter the toast, then some people will eat a little bit of crow on this one and call it different things here. All right, order form. The final form. It's after you've selected your whether you've loaded it or transferred it from the select form, and it displays everything nicely, where you can actually order your computer. And again, you can kind of print out a little message box that shows kind of a thing that says you're going to get your order in 7 to 10 business days. Thank you for your order. That kind of thing. Again, we're kind of simulating what it is to print without printing. Solution structure, what everything's going to be called and how it's done. It's very similar to what we've done already. Assignment, from an internal documentation perspective, I'm looking for the same exact things. No difference here. And GitHub, you must share your files on GitHub. Big monster of a project. Where do I start from? Do I start from this? How about do I start from this? How about I recommend you start from this? This might be the best way to start. Start from this one. Build your data grid view. Get your information flowing into here first. This is where I would start, right? In fact, I would build the user interfaces just like normal for all of my forms from the very beginning. It's still worth quite a bit of marks, right? And you need to do that. So that's the first piece I would build. I would also build my required container class. I'm going to call it computer order or order, whatever you want to call it. And the order is going to take these exact fields, this same thing that all these fields are, every single field that's inside my table, inside the class, where I'm going to transfer my information from one place to the other. Why? Do I really have to do that? I have to do anything, right? But it's best practice to have some kind of container class, like when you instantiate an object, to hold your data so you can easily pass it between forms. If you try and pass it from one form to the other using public and private, access modifiers on each of the fields, you're going to have issues. right? And this is where people had issues last time, not just the tricks of highlighting the field and all this kind of stuff. All right, so I started here. And then, remember, this is going to be grayed out. This next button is going to be grayed out until you make a selection. Selection, transfer the information here. That's the next step I would do. How do I transfer it to here? This part, my select form, to my product info form. I would do that next, right? If I can get to here, that's really good work for, let's say, next week. Like most of your application is done, right? Well, I know I'm going to see. I'm not going to see anybody starting anything, right? I'm going to do a check and exercise lab next week. If you started, I'm going to check you. Difficult. I'm not going to give you free marks for this one. You need to have every one of your forms done. That means, in other words, all the user interface for each one of these different forms by next week should be already done. All right, even if they're not perfect, don't worry about it. Why am I telling you this? If you don't start next week, right, you're going to run into this semester where you're going to wait to the last week and you're going to freak out because things aren't connecting properly, things aren't working out properly, things aren't displaying properly, you're not able to do stuff right, and you've run out of time. It's not about can't you do it or can you do it or aren't you smart enough. It's not about being smart at all. It's about giving you way enough time to do it all, right? So that you don't have to worry. Don't panic. Please don't wait to start this after next week. Start this right away. That's why I'm giving it to you now, right? I'm trying to be nice, but sometimes, you know, the more time I give everyone, the more time everyone takes. Questions around dollar computers. This is like the hell assignment that you're going to get. You're going to get one from me this semester, but if you get to learn this, once you know how to do database access and everything else, it's a key component to when you go to work. When you go to work in the real world, you need to have some kind of data access. If you don't know how to okay? You need to know how to code stuff and connect to data. You don't know anything, right? So really, the second half is really the meat and bones of what you need, kind of takeaways or key outcomes are going to be handled in the second half of this course. Let's see if this thing finished. Holy crap. Downloading, man. Or it says finished downloading, it's still installing. Let's see if I can buy some more time here by doing a couple of things. I did this only because, not because I want to do anything different here. Sometimes what happens is Microsoft Azure updates. It kind of sometimes, I'm going to put a disclaimer on this one, sometimes is the way it affects Visual Studio's connection to Microsoft Azure in the cloud. Sometimes. In fact, I can do this and then I go back in here and it's the same. And it's because of where we are. It's a school connection problem. Are you guys, by the way, anyone have connection issues with Microsoft Azure? Tried it. Yeah. Is it connection issues? You're still working. Okay. All right. Now you can always choose DreamHost. Oh, well, look, we're sorry. The following products have failed to install. Okay, I don't care about this storage emulator. Who cares? Of course, an emulator will fail to install. Why? Out of an emulator, it will fail. I don't care about that. I care about these. You know, the app service tools. Let's see if I can actually get this. No, I'm not going to do any of this. I'm going to exit here. Actually get going on this thing. And I got this from Tools, Extensions, and Updates, and it suggested a Microsoft Azure update. That's why I did it. I don't think that's going to make a shred of difference. I think it's something to do with our school server, and that's why we can't connect. And of course, Microsoft Visual Studio 2015 is taking its time because it's trying to think about all the things I just did to it. Did a big slap right now. Say, hey, bam, you're going to get updated, right? And it usually takes a few moments for it to happen. Any questions around assignment 4? I know it's you know, it's a pain, and I have to be honest with you, it is a pain about data access. Now, if I can't connect here to Azure today, it's okay. I'm going to talk to IT, and we're going to do it locally for today. And I'm going to show you how to connect locally to your local DB, right? Worst case scenario. We'll talk about how to do that. All right, let's check this out. Now, how did I get to that update for those people that are watching? Remember that what I did was extensions and updates, and I got that little thing going on, right? So you go to Tools, and if you go to Extensions and Updates, sometimes what happens is Microsoft, the Azure SDK or the API updates. Here's 2 updates, it looks like. It's usually more than that, even though it shows 2, it's actually more. Gallery, and notice there's nothing else here that matters. GitHub extension for Visual Studio, actually, that's pretty important. Well, it is. If without this one, you don't know how. Sometimes what happens is GitHub will fail to connect properly, and it'll cause issues. And they've updated this obviously for a reason. And then we'll be good to go. Luckily, I have an SSD, so it shouldn't take long. Works now? Oh, come on, man. Yours works perfectly? So it's not a connection issue? I love hearing that. So you open up the firewall and everything works? Okay, so that's good. So that means it's just me. I'd rather have it just be me than you guys, right? So the Visual Studio is outdated, which is why I'm updating it right now. But it's taking its nice sweet time. Install. I already have this extension, but obviously it's been updated, right? So that's fine. And of course, this is what happens when you're live coding or anything live. Anything can happen from semester to semester. Last semester it worked just fine. This semester, meh, right? It just happens, right? So just kind of bite it and keep going, right? That's it. Anyway, so what it should do is when you're wireless, and I'm wireless now, like you, right? Now you guys are wired. Are you wired or wireless? Wireless, I think the ports are open. That's what it's supposed to be on the wireless. On the wired, they're closed. I'm pretty sure that's what it is here. That's how we change that from Rich. So when we do this, and in the summer we're going to do enterprise computing. That's COMP1007. Doing that, we're also going to require Microsoft Azure. So it's a good opportunity for you to get it set up now and then do it in the summer. Okay, let's take a look if I can get this going. So I'm going to go down to Object Explorer is what I really want to see. Review, Object Explorer. If your database doesn't show up here, like mine's not, you can click on the plus. And if I go to Azure, I should see my server coming up. Right here it is. That's nice. And it gives me my username, and I'm going to put in my password. Oh, thank God. This is where I have my conflict, but you may not. That's totally fine. Hopefully, it won't give me. If it gives me an error, I'll just do it locally, and then I'll fix my problem and come back to myself and see what the problem is. My guarantee is, though, if you're having a problem with this and it's random in terms of port, if you try this with your hotspot, if you create a hotspot for yourself, related or instance-specific error occurred, establishing a connection to the SQL Server, right? The server was not found or was not accessible. Verify that that instance name is correct, and the SQL Server is configured to allow remote connections. Of course, we already did that, right? Now, if you didn't get this, that's fine. That's beautiful for you. Now, if I try COMP1004 W2017 by itself, this one, it should be the same. Let me just kind of connect to that for now. This is another key thing here. If I can read the database, so I'm kind of keying that in my own. That's really cool, right? If I click Advanced, right? It's going to show you the all this information here, right, which is important. This is the connection string right here, right? And if I click connect, that should log me in properly. Now, somehow this time it worked. No difference. Different there, right? However, the key is not that, but if I can actually pull the server information down from here, and I can't. If I connect here and if I try, or even if I refresh here, and if I kind of look at the server information being here, if I can't pull it down in SQL Server Object Explorer, I have no connection. Let's work locally. So how do I work locally? So right now I have this list of names, but what I want to do is in my local DB, MS SQL local DB, which is perfectly fine to start off with. Notice that I have databases you may not have. If I want to set up a new database, I can right click, add a new database. Let's add a new one for today. Add a new database. We're going to call this COMP1004-W new database that's stored on my local DB server. Okay. If it's working for you, use the one through Azure. Mine's not working for whatever reason. I'm going to click OK here. Okay, cool. So I've made a database, but I need a table to connect to, right? So if I look down here, there's my database. You can see that I don't have any tables. If I click on here, there's some system tables. I want to right click on my tables and add a new table. You can do the same thing for your database on Azure. My table name is going to be called, notice it's going to pull up this little DBO table design, an ID. That's the ID of the table. I want to pull up a couple of additional things here. This is the old way, by the way, of doing things. So bear with me. We're going to show you the new way. All right. So here's my ID and my name. So we're going to say first name. Right. Now, by default, it's ncar. I'm going to make it nvarchar 50. Nvarchar 50. Allow nulls. No. Need to have first name in there, too. So we'll say last name. We'll do the same thing nvarchar 50 for first name and last name. I'm also not going to allow nulls there. First name and last name. So two pieces of information I want. Okay. The other thing is I need to make my ID auto-incrementing. In order for you to do this, notice I've clicked on here. Down here, see how it's a primary key already? This is the script that's going to run to create my table, right? But I need this to be auto-incrementing. Just to specify identity for SQL, right? But over here on the right, notice that I've got my ID highlighted. On the right, I have identity specification false. I need to change this identity specification to true. This is the same for, by the way, for SQL Server locally as well as Azure. So now it should say this, primary key identity. Identity meaning auto-incrementing. That's what it's going to do. Cool. We've got this thing. Notice there's a little bit of an update up here. I'm running a script. That's what I'm building. I'm going to update my script. Last name. What's the error you're going to get? nvarchar 50. Yeah? What's the error? Well, the other thing is the table name. That's really important. I didn't do that. The table name has to change. Just this table name should be something like the users table. That should be something we should put in there for sure. Otherwise, it's going to be called the table, right? That's bad. Table makes no sense. You shouldn't get an error here like this. Just make sure yours says what mine says. If you type this in, who cares what it says up here? This is just a visual interface for what this is. If I was to actually copy this thing, watch. If I was to copy this thing and paste it again, I could do that again and again. So let's say let's say I deleted a couple of these, right? Look what happens up above when I do that. They go, right? And if I right-click and paste, and if I click away up above, they come back, right? So this is just a script, and this is a visual representation of what it's going to look like. Got an error? Right. Let's go to update. Now it's going to say, now there's two, generate script and update database. Just click update database. What it's going to do is it's going to go in there and create the table for us. All right. Now this happens both locally, the same way as remotely. We have no, let's add some data in there. How do we do that? Right click on the user's data table and look at view data. Studio, you're looking at SQL Server Object Explorer, then you should be able to do this here. View data. It's going to give you a little thing like this. You don't want to click in ID. ID is going to be auto-generated for you. First name, let's make this Tom. We'll put my last name in there. And we'll keep going. We'll say, you know, John, James, Bond. I don't know. Some other names. Jane Doe. Other ones. Okay. One more. We'll give one more. 5, just to say so we can see that there's other names. I'm trying to think of another one that comes off the top of my head. Matt Murdoch. There you go. Matt Murdoch. Matt Murdoch and Peter Parker. How about that one too? Peter Parker and Peter Parker. There we go. All right, so we've got some names, right? And these are the ones I've just added in. Guess what? It's automatically been added. I've gone from one step to the other. Yeah, you got a problem. You got a problem. It means you haven't made ID as identity. That's why it's not. Well, we'll have to go. I have to check you after. Okay. All right. So we've got this data. Yay! Lots of data. Now we have to connect to it. Well, here and right now it just does what I've entered, but I want to connect to it. So this is what I need to do. This is the old way. We'll talk about the new way next week. This is using data sets, which is not the way we do it now. Yes. And notice it says unbound mode, and you can say use data bound items. Well, I don't have data bound items, but I want to use that. I'm going to click on there. Source, none, right? Okay, well, I can do something like add a project data source. If you're not with me, then you won't be able to do what I'm doing now, right? So again, whether you're using Azure or local DB, you need to do this if you're going to do the old way. Add project data source. Yay. It's going to take you to this screen that says data source configuration wizard. There's service, there's object, and there's SharePoint. We want to use database. Next. Data set option, right? Okay, cool. Which one is it going to be? Form MDF, and there's a bunch of other ones in here, right? Or some kind of new connection. And now this is where it gets a little hairy. If you're doing it remotely, you need to put this in exactly this way for local DB. It's going to be like this, right? And notice on the left-hand side, right? I can't scroll, which is bad because I can't see what it looks like, right? So to be smart, and I wasn't, I'm just going to cancel this for a second. I'm going to go back and do this one more time. This is very, very important. Local DB, this piece right here, right? So let's do it again. So data source here. I'm going to go to here. I'm going to go to there. Next. New connection. And now, what it says, local DB. Then slash MS SQL local DB. I'm using Windows authentication here locally. If you're remotely, you're going to click down here and go SQL Server authentication and put in your username and password. And up here, it wouldn't be this. It would be whatever the database is called, database.windows.net. You're going to put in there. And if you want to know where that is, if you go back to your portal, right, for, where do I have my portal open? Do I have my portal open? Maybe not. I don't. So let's go into a new window. Let's make it a new incognito window so it doesn't clash. Sorry, guys. Looks like I probably turn it off. Let's go here. So I'm going to say portal.azure.com. And I'm going to have to log in again. And if you notice on the right This is my new database. So notice the name of the database. It's COMP1004-W2017.database.windows.net. That's what you're going to put in here, up here, right? That whole fully qualified domain name, okay? You're going to put SQL Server authentication, put your username, password, save my password, and the test for you to see if you can connect is if you can pull down the database. For example, for me, if I was going to do remote, let me copy this so I can come back to this in a second. If I was going to try doing it remotely, copy or connecting remotely, it would be like this, right? So it'd be COMP1004-W2017.database.windows.net. That's what it would be in there. And then my username would be Thomas, G for Georgian, 2017, an exclamation mark. Save my password. And if I'm successful, I should be able to pull this down and it should show me my database like this, right? It won't finish though. And if I was going to continue and press OK, your connection. Just if you press OK, and if everything works from here, you're golden. If everything doesn't work from here, like it's not going to work for me, then you have to use your local DB for now. So you can see how this is cycling. This is a bad sign. It shouldn't take this long for you to connect to your server. If it takes this long for you to connect to your server, there's some kind of port problem that we have in this room, which I'm going to try and fix maybe next week, if I can get to it. I got to put up an IT request and they'll do it. What? I'm okay with this. Now, if you got to this point and somehow, magically, I got to this point, which means I'm going to have to create my table again. My table doesn't exist remotely. All right, I'm just putting it out there for you. All right, so if I did this far, yes, include sensitive data. You should put that in there. Here's your connection string. And this connection string is going to go in something called an app.config file. See this app.config file? You're going to see that. Okay, cool. Next. Do you want to save the connection string to the app config file? COMP1004 names connection string. That's fine. Next. Object do you want in your data set? Well, I don't have a database object because somehow I was able to connect. I don't know how, but that's okay, right? This circumstance somehow. And it's going to retrieve database info. This is where it craps out. Okay, cool. Notice that there is no my comp 1004 names data set, and there isn't anything in there, right? Because I don't have a table on my data set. I can't do anything locally. So how do I fix this? Let's go back to previous. I like this. I'm going to pull up just to see if I can make this work, just because you inspire me, you people. My database. I'm using Microsoft SQL Server Studio, right? Management Studio. And again, I would put in this here in my thing. So I'll put in something like comp 1004-W2017 .windows.net. I don't know, maybe it fixed itself, who knows. And then I doubt it. There we go. Remember my password. If I did everything good, I can click create and connect. And if everything went well, yes, to my databases. Come on, baby. All right, see, I'm telling my computer it's a baby now. And then on my tables, right click and new table. This is exactly what we saw before. And you can see the delay is just killing me, right? It's not liking I want to create a table. The fact that I get this far, I'm amazed. But it's, you know, again, it really depends. Finicky on the school network. It's actually finicky for Mongo. Yeah, see? How do I do that? Can I do something where I create a table on Azure? Not sure. I believe I was not able to do that before. My database server, and you can see that there's one database right here, right? Here's my database. Here's my connection strings. And I don't believe to doing something like that, like modifying everything directly? I don't believe so. I don't believe so at all, in fact. Copy tools, set server file, well, we already did that. A query editor, open in Visual Studio. Yeah, right. That's not going to work. All right, so we're not going to be able to do it here. But a lot of times what you can do is you have some kind of management where you can manage your data. That's what I really want to try and do here. And it doesn't seem to be, there doesn't seem to be this particular update of managing the actual data itself. I'm pretty sure you can't do it remotely. Yeah. Yeah. So how do I fix this locally? Like I said, I was going to go to my local database. This is not working. Even if I try again, stuff won't allow me to do it. It'll crap out. It's crapping out because, not because I don't have the hell, right? I love it. What am I going to do to make it simple? Back to, if this works, I'll be happy. But, let's cancel this process for a second. And I got to check out my app.config in a second. What I need to do is I want to go to my databases locally, here, which I've created, my local DB. Just work remotely. What's timing like right now? And I want to view my designer, which is this piece right here. I'm going to copy this whole piece. Copy. I'm going to go to this. Where's my scripting for this thing? Out. No. Okay, it's going to be by hand. Let's try typing it by hand. Yeah, this is properties. And varchar. No, it's not in varchar. I know what you mean, but you're talking about up here, new query, where? Or on the table? Where? Am I missing something? What button are you talking about? Where? Am I not seeing? On the bar. Yeah, okay. Oh, you're talking about. Keep going. Oh, here it is. Darn, okay. Oh, and you mean put it in like that? Yeah, I guess I could do that. But I have a problem with this method. I do that. It may or may not work, right? Every time I connect to the database, I'm afraid, right? Crazy. All right. It says connected. If we can execute the query. Yeah, I'm going to find it. If I can do it right here. It says commands completed successfully where I created the table. That means I should be able to pull my table down now. And let's take a look. Select top 1,000 rows, top 200 rows, and put some information in there. It won't be different. If it allows me to do this, guys, I'll be happy. And look how unstable this is. Like I'm connecting and not connecting every minute, right? So it means there's some kind of problem with that. Let's try this again. So it'll be the same thing. So I'll say Tom. You can see how this is just not flowing properly. A mark, slightly different data. And James Bond, it's slow. James, oops. That's Murdoch. That's some other hero names. What, Tony Stark? We got Iron Man, Spider-Man, and Daredevil. Perfect. All right. So now that we've got that data, fantastic. If it worked, woohoo! Right? Visual Studio didn't work, but something else. The other stuff worked. Kill this. Let's try this again. Right. So first of all, there is no data set that was created. One thing to check is they started the process is in app.config. Sometimes it'll note the connection string right here. God, right? So that's where it's going to be stored. Let's try this again. 240. I got a few minutes left. new data sets. I want to add my database. Next, data set. Held it. It kind of remembered. I'll take that, no problem. Next. Yes, I'll keep the same connection string for now. Next. Tables. This is what you should see. Users. This is my connection, my data set, right? And notice I want ID, first name, and last name. I want those things. Okay, and this is what it's called, COMP1004 names data set by default. Finish. And if I did this by myself or naturally, if it works out, if it doesn't crash here, now this is the data source, right? And I can choose the data member, which is, for example, first name, and I can select my value if I want, but I don't want to. But for now, if I click away, and if everything goes well, I should have my list of first names with a lot of pain. I took a lot of pain getting this up. There we go. Phew. If you followed that, you're golden. Now you know why base assignment 4 is a pain in the ass. Sorry to say it that way, and I apologize to everybody who's been offended by what I just said, but I don't care. It's well, we need it. We need to do this, right? This is the challenge, right? The challenge as computer programmers is data store. So we need to do it at some point. This is the point we're going to do it, right? So, so you notice that I have the data here. We still got some time. And if I want to say, so this is a list of first names. A list of first names. I can make it large or small. And let's say I want to drag and drop now my toolbox. So if I go, so some common controls, I want to drag in a label. Here we go. Here's my label. And my label is going to be called the first name label. Name label. There we go. First name label. And it'll be called first name. Okay, this is cool, but all it does depending on which one I connect to. Yeah, see this? You know what that is? This isn't an error. If you get this error here at the school, it's not an error. Connect. Right, so let's stop it, and I bet you if I run it again, try it a couple times before you get that error. Because if you get that error over and over again, okay, over and over again, like this, the reason why it's right? Yes. You can do it here. Notice the data binding is here, right? But I recommend doing it right through my smart arrow if you're going to use the old way. Right? Yeah. So if I start and if everything goes well, then giving it a second, notice how it's trying to act. All right, I'm going to show you one more way. Okay, so this is the way, and might get there with me. This is because of the connection. All right, let's make a new connection. So I'm going to make another form. Actually, I'm going to my data form. Is on my data form itself. I'll get rid of my connection strings. I can just delete. I can delete strings, and inside my app.config to reset, notice that it added this whole connection strings part right here. I'm going to get rid of this too, and save. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect locally, right? So I'm going to do this locally. So instead of this, I got no data source to show you that all again. Add project data source, database, next, no, new connection. I'm going to go with local. This is how it looks with local. I'm going to put in that local DB again, right? So it's going to be local DB, MS SQL, local DB. And then I should be able to pull down my database, which is COMP1004 W2017, and click OK. My data connection, this is my data connection, right? This is my data string, next. And I'll accept this, next. See how fast it is? This is how it should really be, right? So I'm going to get my whole table and finish. And now I have my local connection, and I want to choose my, which is going to be my first name. There it is. And if I run this locally, it's going to look like an error. No, what's the issue? Oh, because behind it didn't go away. So I coded it, but I expected the code behind file to be fixed, and of course it was not. Sorry, so I updated that. And then if I try it out again, this is nice, but it doesn't give me a lot of information. What I was going to try and show you was the more common control, undo, control for this, which is the data grid view, which I talked about. So this is the first name. That's nice, but this doesn't give me information. My data grid view itself, how does that look? Make some more room here. I'm going to go into Toolbox really quickly, and then I'll talk about this again next week, right? A data grid view. So if I go to data on the left, there's something called a data grid view. If I drag and drop, right, it asks me if I have a data source, and I do, right? So I can use my project data sources, which is one that I already have. Gee, I don't know which one it is. Yeah, okay, I'll use that one. Did I change something? Maybe I did. That's bad. Anyways, so what this data grid view does is it pre-populates a table with all the information, which is where I want you to, what I want you to do with your assignment 4. So I kind of run this thing, and if it works, and I believe I did not, otherwise it would have come up by now. And let's go back and try that again. This one. And again, you can play around with this as much as you want, but at the end of the day, users table adapter is what I want. Make sure I pull up that. No, this one. There it is. All right, so if I run this thing now, it should look like this, right? And that's what the data grid view does. It basically pulls up all your data. And this is one of the most common views for this, for COMP1004 as well as COMP2007. The next course you're going to take in the summertime, we're going to use something called a grid view, right? Some kind of data grid view for the web, right? Very similar, than what we're doing here. And this is almost the crux of what you're doing. What I want you to do is when you click here on one of these things, it highlights the entire row, and it takes this information. We're going to talk about how to get that later on. This is done, is in the code behind file, because automatically my data form on the back end, users table adapter fill method, which fills the user table with database. This is identical to what we're going to do, except that we're not going to bind it this way in the advanced form. In the advanced form, we're going to use the entity framework to do this. Old way of doing it. The old way is great for very simple applications, but terrible if you want to do more advanced things like full CRUD. Very, very slow, and for large applications, you wouldn't want to use it. Questions around, see, I didn't even get to the Unity part of all the issues.
I thought we did that.
Kind of, but I was going to do more. Questions around this, around data. I know it's a lot. It's a kind of an intro. Next week, we're going to get more into detail about this stuff, and hopefully I'm going to do this way again, a little more detail, because I got to do that, and then I got to review again, and then go back into the new way, which is what we're going to really use at the end. I'm not going to use this data set stuff. Lack of control. Notice that it already pre-filled everything for you, and I have no control over what got filled in. Yes. Yeah. What I want you to do for now is interfaces. Even if the data grid view has no connection, it's okay. Okay. And any questions around what's doing next week? Remember, next week I'm going to do a check. I want to do a check and X to see if you've done your user interfaces or begun them. Okay. Yes. Monday evening. Okay. All right. I guess I lost my connection.